The story began at a high school, where a tall girl was walking through the hallway. Her name was Mikoto, and she happened to be taller than average. You might even say she's a little huge. She also happened to be very well endowed. Big in the right places. She was silently carrying a bundle of printouts in her arms while walking. While she walked, a male student who had been chatting distractedly with his friend bumped into her. And that caused the papers that she was carrying to fall to the ground. Mikoto quickly crouched to pick them up, but before she could do that, the boys scowled at her and called her a she-hulk, insisting that she had walked into him. Caught off guard and flustered, Mikoto broke into a cold sweat. She stuttered out a meek apology, even though she had done nothing wrong. Her voice was quiet, barely audible, as she scrambled to pick up the pages. Then, seemingly from nowhere, a third voice entered the scene. Another male student, who had witnessed the entire thing, stepped forward. He stated clearly that he had seen what happened, and that it was, in fact, the other boy who had walked into Mikoto. When the boys turned to look at him and asked who he was, he struck a pose, an overly dramatic and proud pose like a Power Ranger. He introduced himself as Hinata Tenma, the student council president. He was noticeably shorter than average, especially next to Mikoto and the boy who had bumped into her. Despite his stature, Hinata spoke with authority as he requested that the boy apologize to Mikoto. Instead of complying, the boy grabbed Hinata by his shirt and told him to shut up. He yelled that just because he's a short student council president didn't mean he had the right to boss people around. It was a bold move, though not a smart one, because he's probably missing a few brain cells. Without hesitation, Hinata retaliated. Despite being smaller, he skillfully flipped the taller student onto the ground. After adjusting his collar and brushing himself off, he calmly asked why someone so much bigger couldn't manage to beat a shorty like him. The boy cursed under his breath, embarrassed and furious. He stormed off with his friend. Once they were gone, Mikoto quietly thanked Hinata, just like she always did when he came to her defense. While helping her gather the scattered printouts, Hinata asked if she had been hurt. When she reassured him that she hadn't, he gave her a light bop on the head with one of the papers and told her that she needed to start standing up for herself. If she kept letting people talk down to her, they always would. Mikoto only lowered her gaze again and apologized. After they finished collecting the documents, the two of them walked side by side. On the way, Hinata asked if she wanted to walk home with him after they turned in the papers. And she happily agreed. To those of you who guessed it, you're right, these two are our main characters. Hinata is Mikoto's childhood friend, but other than that, he is also Mikoto's boyfriend. Despite being short and often overlooked, he had always protected her without hesitation. He was brave, thoughtful, and unwavering in his support of her. And, although he wasn't very physically affectionate, he treasured her more than anything. However, that affection came with a catch. Later that evening, as they walked home together, Mikoto reached out and tried to hold Hinata's hand. But the moment their fingers touched, Hinata tensed up. His face turned red, and he quickly yanked his hand away, asking in confusion why she had tried to touch him like that. Mikoto replied quietly, saying she just wanted to hold hands with him. To that, Hinata blushed even harder and told her that it was too soon for something like that. Reluctantly, Mikoto backed off, pushing her desire down and agreeing, even though her heart sank a little. The truth was, Hinata was overly cautious when it came to showing affection. Because he treasured her so much, he refused to do anything even remotely couple-like with her. Not even something as simple as holding hands. The next day at school, Mikoto told her close friend Momoka about her problems. She explained the whole situation, how, even after being together for so long, Hinata refused to hold hands with her. Momoka was stunned. She exclaimed that it was almost unbelievable. How could a guy who clearly loved Mikoto still act like that? She even wondered half-jokingly if Hinata was some kind of Puritan. Her reaction was so exaggerated that Mikoto had to calm her down. Then, without skipping a beat, Momoka casually admitted that she and her own boyfriend did the deed. Almost every day. That's to tell you that even her friend is super horny. Momoka raised an eyebrow and asked if she always dressed plainly. Mikoto nodded and explained that stylish clothes didn't suit her. Suddenly, Momoka stood up and without warning, she grabbed Mikoto's jigglers and shaked them all about, while asking why someone with such a figure was hiding it under dull clothing. Mikoto tried to protest, but Momoka leaned in and whispered that she'd look incredible in the right outfit. Before Mikoto could escape, Momoka began showing her a selection of interesting clothes which were outside Mikoto's comfort zone. Later that evening, Hinata found himself sitting patiently in Mikoto's room. She had called him over without saying much, so he waited quietly, wondering if something was wrong. When Mikoto finally walked in, he looked up and froze. She was wearing one of the outfits Momoka had picked out. It was trendy, stylish, and just a little daring. She smiled at him and thanked him for waiting. Then, tilting her head, she asked him if the outfit suited her. Hinata's face turned bright red. He stammered, asking her what she was wearing. Mikoto giggled softly and said she just liked dressing up sometimes. But Hinata was overwhelmed. His entire head steamed with embarrassment, 'cause his brain was on meltdown. Mikoto stepped closer, concerned. She placed a hand on his chest and asked if he was okay. He said he was fine, and with a shaky voice he asked her to let him go. She didn't, and instead pointed out that he seemed like he was burning up. As she got closer to him, something strange happened. Hinata seemed to accidentally spill some yogurt in his pants. Mikoto, who saw this, was taken aback. So she confirmed what she saw. Hinata, the cool, composed boy who always acted so mature, was trembling, completely flustered. Watching him shrink into himself like that stirred something in her. He was so red, so embarrassed, and so cute at that moment that her heart began to race. The more she looked at him, the more she wanted to see that expression again. And so, in a burst of impulsive affection, she jumped him, showering him with kisses she had been holding back for so long. And then, after the deed, Mikoto found herself lying in bed, wondering if she slept off. Hinata told her that she had fallen asleep, so he moved her to the bed. Embarrassed, Mikoto apologized for everything that happened. But Hinata gently shook his head. He admitted that, in his effort to protect her, he had ended up ignoring her feelings. He said he'd always thought it was better to go slow, but now he realized that his hesitation had hurt her. He told her he would do anything for her, so she shouldn't feel like she needed to hold back anymore. After hearing that, Mikoto immediately hugged him and asked if it was all right to cling to him like this. Hinata blushed and stuttered that he was okay with it, but he would need some time to adjust. Mikoto smiled slyly, licked her lips, and replied that they'd just need to do it more often, so he could get used to her clinginess faster. Hinata shouted that he needed rest first, but Mikoto rejected and refused to let him off. Title or sauce is Koi no Susumekata, or How to Advance Your Love.